My name is Molly and I've been running the watercolour group at Sage House for the last 2 years. It's a group for enjoyment and painting equipment. What you need, that you can go, the sky's the limit on how much you pay, but when you're starting, just buy something simple. It's very easy to get paint boxes such as these online, craft shops, the works, hobbycraft, places like that. Not too expensive. When you've got the pans like that which are solid, as you use them up, you can then buy tubes of paint and fill up with the tubes. With the little box you've also got somewhere where you can mix your paint. So don't go mad and be very expensive, just get what you can and have a go. Brushes. You do need quite nice brushes because they're easier to work with. Synthetic hair is fine. Perhaps a 6 and an 8 and a flat brush 3/4 inch, but just 2 would do, just to have a start. The other thing is paper. It is important to get watercolour paper because it takes the paint better, it takes water, and you can push things around and it doesn't damage. There are different grades of paper and it goes by weight. The medium weight, which is very adequate, is 140 pounds / 300 GSM. Have I got that the right way round? Yes, GSM. And the surface is called knot / cold pressed, which is a technical term for not ever so smooth and not very rough. It's just a medium paper, and that's fine. Other than that, you don't need anything special. A water pot, some kitchen towel, some masking tape so you can fix it to a board, and a board can be a foam board or any piece of wood or light, anything firm, not to worry, just to keep it still. Pencil, eraser, I think that's all. On the side of your brush, and then perhaps some darker at the side and underneath, and then with the tip of your brush you can put some branches in, trunk, if your brush is fairly dry, and because the paper's a little bit rough, if you use it on the side, you can imagine you could use that for water or for a tree that's not got many leaves. And again, just put some so quite a big brush if you've got a fine tip. You could do, say you're doing grapes, always use a little bit of white to show a shine, and little bits of white left in watercolour keep it quite sparkly. Watercolour also dries a lot lighter than you think. You think you're being bold and you're not. So, we'd make those into cherries, couldn't we? They're in season. I know they're blue, but with a flat brush you can obviously cover bigger areas. So if you were doing the sky and you start, it's not very dark but a little bit darker, then take some water down and then change colour a bit towards the horizon. A little bit of brown with your blue makes it darker, so you can do sort of distant hills. And then a bit greener. Then a nice sunny field. And then mixing darker green with yellow and blue. You could, it's a bit wet, you have to let things dry if you don't want them to run, but just to show, you could then put a foreground tree in, which is much darker. With a flat brush you can make nice straight marks, and with a smaller brush perhaps do some bits of grass. We're doing a still life today, so if you want something, that's not a very clean brush, if you want something to look rounded, if you wet the area first and then put your stronger colour on the dark side, so you've got a bit of a shadow, then continue putting clean water so that it's lighter on one side. There's all sorts of tricks, but just have a play. It's important to play, to experiment with your brushes, experiment with your paint, and enjoy. It's not serious, nobody's going to mark it, it's just to have a bit of fun. This is just a simple still life. Set up anything you like at home, you don't have to copy favourite mugs or whatever. But I'm going to just do clear water at first, leaving a space on the paper. We don't have white in watercolour, we just leave the paper. Then green mud, yellow and blue mixed. Different blues and different yellows make different colours, so if we just add some water, some paint, sorry. Leaving that bit of white for a shine. Then a bit of a darker green to show that it's shaded on that side. And a bit shaded down at the bottom. Putting a bit of stronger blue in. So letting the paint run about and do what it wants, and we'll leave a tiny bit of white at the top. And a bit of shine on top of the handle. It's a bit dark, so blot it out a bit. And very few things are just one colour. So we can add a bit more yellow. Let the water run a bit. And then just a bit of green around the other rim. Now if we then moved on to the jug, it would run, so we'll leave the jug for a bit and do the apples, which we'll start with yellow. Again, leave a bit of shine. bit red perhaps, so we just add more water. And if it's really disastrous, you can blot it out with your kitchen towel. Bit of blue on top of that. That's a different blue. Makes a different green. Again, a bit of shadow around one side. Perhaps a little bit of orange just to give it a bit of a zhuzh. Now we can do the other one if we're careful and leave a bit of gap in between the two, otherwise it will run. Yellow on first, blue into the yellow, and you can keep playing with this till you get the colour you want. But don't put too many on, because if you mix the colours together you'll get black, which is another colour we don't have in our, well, they are often in boxes, but we don't use black. Just make a nice start from mixing your colours. And it's not a photograph, so it doesn't have to be exactly like something else. Right, perhaps we might leave that for a little bit, just to dry a bit. The next thing we're going to do is paint the white jug, and mainly that'll just be shadow. So if we mix a bit of blue and a bit of mauve, lilac, whatever. Doesn't want to be too strong, but it wants to be strong enough. Again, getting the right colour, it's just playing and finding what you do. So let's just start by putting a bit of water on the inside, and then a bit on the dark side, and then clear water. Actually, if you do touch the apple and you get a bit of colour, it doesn't really matter, because white will reflect colours. So if we just let a bit go in there to show that it's the inside, leave a little white rim. And then perhaps a bit stronger. Just leaving that little gap round there so it doesn't run. And then drying that off a bit so that it is whiter this side. And a little bit of shadow under the handle. One thing painting does do for you, it makes you look, makes you notice things. So apart from putting the stalks in, backgrounds, it's up to you what you do, because you're sort of making it up. Although these started off as real objects, it's what you do with them. So on this one, I put the shadow in and then just made up a background. But equally, you can do it in a different colourway, plain background, any colour, apples, pears, whatever you want. And remember, it is enjoyment. That's going to run, I think, so we'll just do a very tiny thin stalk there. And sometimes you get the odd speckle on an apple or fruit, so, you know, just make it look a bit more realistic. And then a bit of shadow coming round. We only see things because of light, so shadow is important. Now down the bottom there, it's just bleeding in a bit, but because it's shadow, that doesn't matter. If you want to do straight lines and you've got a straight brush, or another thing you can use is a sharp edge like a credit card or something, just play about. It doesn't have to be anything particularly, it's just making up a composition. And then just in that one I've used just mix it till you've got what you want, and then just carefully put some colour in just to give it a bit of background, lose the white paper, but have a play. And as I say, use different colours.